Buonasera a tutti. Hello, everybody. And thanks to be here. I am Cesare Pietro Giusti. I am the president of the board of Azienda Speciale Palaexpo in Rome. Our organization has the task to promote and develop the discussion about the Rome Charter. So we are co-organizing together with UCLG this meeting that happens exactly 1 year after the signing of the document of the Carta di Rome. We are very happy and honored to be the organization that, as I was saying, together with UCLG and together with the Dipartimento alla Cultura di Roma Capitale, our city administration, has this task. And I won't speak long. My introduction is only to say that we believe, strongly believe, as a producer of research and culture, especially in the field of visual arts and performing arts and the different languages of artistic disciplines. We strongly believe that culture and art in particular are an essential elements for social empowerment of people, social justice, and emancipation. We are convinced as well that the SDG objectives will be possible to join if we develop critical culture, critical acknowledgement and awareness of people all over the world. That's why we believe that art, especially art within the wide field of culture, especially art, will give this opportunity to look at reality, to look at social condition of people from different points of view, from different angles, from different perspectives. Also, always with the idea that critical knowledge is a fundamental tool for freedom and participation of people, full participation of people to cultural life of the community is an essential element for social justice and for distribution of human potentiality. As I was saying, we co-organize these meetings, this series of meetings about the Rome Charter with UCLG. So I am very happy to introduce and pass the word to Jordi Pasquale from the UCLG organization. Thank you for listening.
Grazie Cesare. Buonasera a tutte e a tutti. Good afternoon. Hello to everyone. We fully endorse what Cesare has said. Great wording. It is exactly these are exactly the reasons why we have been involved in the writing, the dissemination, the implementation of this Rome Charter 2020. I am representing the World Organization of Cities, United Cities and Local Governments, and I have the great honor to be the coordinator of the UCLG Culture Committee. We have been working since 2004 with a declaration, Agenda 21 for Culture, which we tried to make more meaningful, more operational with Culture 21 actions in 2015. And we tried to connect our work with the with the frame of the Sustainable Development Goals and the Agenda 2030 in a very loyal way, because we understand that this frame is a universal frame, a very useful frame, also with a critical view, because we are profoundly dissatisfied with the lack of a culture goal and cultural targets. It is not evident by the international community that culture is a fundamental dimension of sustainable development. And we believe that the best way to insist that cultural actors should be called at the table of local, national, global sustainable development, that cultural narratives, that cultural challenges are discussed at a local, national, and international level. The best way is to found our argumentation, our narrative in human rights, because Article 27 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and Article 15 of the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights are very clear. There is the right to participate in cultural life. This is the founding phrase. This is the motto. This is the kickoff of the Rome Charter, initiated in late 2019. Experienced the difficulties of the outbreak of the pandemic in February, March 2020, but nevertheless, we worked cooperatively with our partners all over the world, and we released the first version of the Rome Charter, the first chapter, in May last year, exactly 1 year ago, and the complete document was released in October, on the 1st of October, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of October 2020. A pleasure to celebrate informally with you this 1 year. This is meant to be an informal dialogue. We are adding new voices to the conversation. We are aware of progress in many cities by many actors of civil society. Very happy to continue the dissemination, the advocacy for the Rome Charter to be well known in all corners around the world. Let me add that UCLG, the organization that I represent here today, adopted the Rome Charter in November 2020 in our World Council, held in Guangzhou and online. Adopted the Rome Charter as a document, fundamental document of our organization, and we are using the Rome Charter as a key document in the writing of the Pact for the Future, which is our guiding frame that will be approved in 2022. So we are with this presence here, with our commitment, with our partnership, we are recognizing also the great leadership of the city of Rome in this endeavor. I think that this is all for the time being for the presentation, and I give the floor back to Cesare to conduct the next session. Thank you. Grazie.
Thanks, Jordi. Thanks. I know that our Assessora alla Cultura, the cultural city minister, is trying to connect to our Zoom right now. She accepted to give benvenuto, welcome to all the participants. I just wanted to say that Azienda Para Expo is promoting different kind of artistic projects that will try to, in fact, enforce and test the network of the cities that UCLG represents and make possible. The idea is that artistic projects that we can produce in the beginning can, in fact, circulate through this international global network. And also this, for us, is a very, very important and new task. So produce artistic projects in order to share them with other organizations, with our city, with our other cultural realities. Now, today, we have proposed to start our conversation with an homage that the German Academy in Rome, the Villa Massimo Academy, and the artist Rachel Monosov have decided to give as a gift, in fact, to this meeting and to all of us. And since our cultural ministry is not still connected, I would pass the floor to the German Academy, who will introduce this gift, artistic gift, to our meeting.
If you were really here, we could dance together. But it will require you to travel here. I sometimes think a lot of tourism is done in the spirit related to colonization and appropriation. I am entitled to go here, and I am going to mark my territory. I'm global.
Are you part of the world? Or the world part of you? Will we be reborn as a scratch?
Grazie all'Accademia Tedesca, grazie a Rachel Monosov di questo dono. Prima di passare la parola a Giulia Draganovic e Giulia Trolp, ho visto che si è connessa la nostra assessora Lorenza Fruci, che ringrazio di essere qui e a cui passerei la parola per un saluto a questo incontro. Grazie.
Grazie Cesare, buongiorno a tutti, piacere di conoscervi. Dopo un anno Roma Capitale torna ad ospitare e promuovere la Carta di Roma, un compleanno importante che torna a accadere in un periodo che dobbiamo ancora definire, ahimè, di pandemia. Un periodo che mai come in passato ci ha messo tutti di fronte ai limiti dell'organizzazione della nostra società e anche in alcuni casi delle nostre politiche culturali. Un anno drammatico, difficile, ma anche un'occasione per rimettere in discussione le nostre certezze di politici e di amministratori. Un anno che ci ha posto di fronte a delle domande nuove, alle quali dobbiamo e possiamo iniziare tutti insieme con un confronto, un dialogo, una dialettica, trovare delle risposte, partendo anche dai principi guida della Carta di Roma. Scoprire, creare, condividere, vivere e godere, prendersi cura. Sono dei verbi, ma quello che mi auguro e auspico da questo incontro è che questi verbi si tramutino in azione e che oggi questa sia l'occasione per dare forma a questi principi. E quindi dopo un anno spero che tutti insieme possiamo condividere best practice, politiche culturali concrete, risposte concrete che dobbiamo dare alla cittadinanza, soprattutto in virtù di questo periodo post-pandemico che ci attende. Mi auguro oggi quindi che gli illustri ospiti di questo tavolo, di questo incontro, possano raccontarci quali risultati ha permesso di raggiungere questa carta e soprattutto quali sono le prospettive concrete di sviluppo di questo manifesto di politiche culturali internazionali. Ringrazio anche l'Accademia Tedesca, non vedo le due Giulia che ho incontrato da poco tempo, perché è importante non solo fare rete a livello internazionale, ma anche a livello locale con le realtà internazionali. Per cui non mi resta che augurarvi buon lavoro e buon pomeriggio. Grazie.
Grazie Lorenza e di nuovo grazie all'Accademia Tedesca. Thanks again to the German Academy. In fact, what Azienda Palaexpo has tried to do and develop is also the local network of international organization, since Rome is so rich of places that hosts, give hospitality to artists, that allow artists and curators and intellectuals and writers, etc., to develop their research in our city. And this, I think, is a real special opportunity for Rome to meet at the local level the international reality of people who produce culture. That's also why Azienda Palaexpo is trying to connect the two aspects, that of the network of the international organization and that of the international network of UCLG that Carta di Roma has opened as an opportunity for us. At this point, I would pass the word to Julia Trolp from the German Academy. I believe Julia Draganovic maybe cannot be with us for
slight technical problems. Hi, everybody. And first of all, excuses from Julia Draganovic, who has slight technical problems to connect, but I hope that we can do the conversation together. Thanks for everybody for inviting us, for having us with you. We're very happy to present this project here, in which Cesare and the Palaexpo was a little bit of a starting point. Cesare Pietro Justi and the Palazzo delle Esposizioni invited Rachel Monosov to an exhibition where she developed a performance. And as we are a residency place for artists, and Rachel is living actually in Berlin, we had Rachel as a fellow for 2 months in Villa Massimo. And during this time, she rehearsed with her dancers and her crew and developed the piece for the show Sublimi Anatomie in the Palazzo delle Esposizioni. And we totally fell in love with Rachel. And so we thought also, thinking about sustainability, obviously sometimes it's really nice to not only have an artist once, but to really enter into a work mode together. And so we asked Rachel to think about a show at Villa Massimo, which could also reflect what the collaboration that has started with the Palazzo delle Esposizioni. The show in Palazzo delle Esposizioni was before the pandemics, and we had the exhibition project, and then the pandemics began. We still had the exhibition project, and then Rachel said, I think we have to think everything totally over. And we thought that this was a brilliant idea. And we started immediately working on this together. And we developed an online exhibition, which you just saw 3 short excerpts from. Now for 72 hours, when you go to the Rome Charter webpage or the link that you have, you can see the whole show with the whole duration of the 3 rooms. You will ask yourself what the 3 rooms are. The 3 rooms are actually the exhibition spaces of the gallery of Villa Massimo, which we put into the digital space. Because we saw also, not being able to go to the physical exhibition space, many activities, artistic activities, have been documented and put into the digital space, which is sometimes the problem, that you just have the bad copy of a thing that happens in real space in the digital space. And we, together with Rachel, actually wanted to do something that was thought for the digital space right away, so that it wouldn't be a bad copy, but it would be the thing. And we developed together this exhibition project, which you just saw. And we would also like to talk about this now together with Rachel. We wanted to start a conversation with Cesare to have a dialogue about this experience to build something in the digital space together, and also to produce something for the social space, the cultural sphere, even if we're not able to meet each other, and to find, but also to have this whole thing of not being able to meet as a theme for the exhibition, because this is what is at the core, this liminal exhibition, this not knowing where you are when you will be able to meet each other again, when you will be able to touch each other again. And I would suggest that I would now pass the word to Rachel, that maybe she speaks a bit about her experience as an artist, what meaning had this project for her during the pandemics as an artist, because we know that all this pandemics was a really difficult time for people that don't have a salary that just goes on, and when all the museums get closed.
Chiedo scusa, intrometto un secondo soltanto per salutare la nostra assessora. So che ha una riunione di giunta e quindi ci deve lasciare. Ti salutiamo e ti ringraziamo di essere stata con noi anche per il saluto. Grazie.
Buon lavoro a tutti, a presto.
Grazie.
Grazie.
Thanks, Rachel, for this, and it will be a pleasure to listen to you.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me here. I guess I'm the only artist in the group.
Two.
We do. Okay, we are two. I just want to say thank you so much for Villa Massimo and Palazzetto Esposizioni for the support for already almost 2 years in different projects. It was very exciting and such a pleasure to work with both institutions. It was so pleasant and understandable and supportive, which I wish to every institute to run this way. So thank you. It wasn't an easy year, and I'm sure for both, for artists and institutions, to be closed, to not have visitors, and as well for artists to sort of put everything on hold, and every day somebody else called to postpone your exhibition or your project, and the budget's becoming smaller and smaller. So it was quite, let's say, a dark year in many ways, as well in the artistic creation. When Villa Massimo said, let's wait with your show when everything will get back to normal, I said, not another show, and who knows what is normal, and why we not use this time now and to build different way exhibition and to treat performance art in a different way. Let's find a solution. And I think the online solution was the way we communicate now on Zoom, and the way we talked about, we're talking with people that close to us, we having conferences, and it's so far from performance art when you can actually smell the sweat and see the eyes of the dancer and feel the person that sit near to you shivering because he get excited. It's so far from it, but still it's maybe a new way to share. And I was very excited to try it out. And it was very different way of working, because you work as you prepare a film. You quite, you don't know your audience reaction, you don't see them. So all the process is very different, but still, I felt like it's a gift to try something else, and to see after a few weeks that 1,300 people watched the performance online was so surprising, from all over the world, from places that there is no way they will be in Rome in the same time, or they will be in the museum. So in a way, there was also something new that opened to have wider audience, and a very a lot of audience as well. Usually in an opening you have maybe a few hundreds, but we reached to more than 1,000 people. I don't know if you have any particular questions towards me about the content of the work. Maybe it will be easier for me to answer questions than just keep talking.
Maybe I can add something as well. I think what you said about the direct experience of a performance, maybe it's also interesting because having then the digital platform and everybody watches the performance at home, it's also a different intimacy, because you enter with the artwork directly to the homes of the people. And I must really say, we were so surprised about this diverse public of the shows, many people from all over. But anyway, some people were so touched that they also sent us messages and let us know. So it was a really direct contact in the pandemic's time. And I think this is also how we can link to the Rome Charter again, that with the cultural action that we have done, we built something that then makes part of the civil society, that enriches it and maybe questions that we have, like so many people are now addressing questions of the psychological impact of the pandemics, which you already addressed in an artistic manner so clearly. And I think this can really contribute to society in this way.
Yeah, me too. I want to thanks Rachel for this, in fact, level of intimacy that maybe thanks to the limitation caused by the pandemics and the quarantine, this kind of interventions has created. So I think your performance in this case exactly talked to a certain part of the body, mind, being. And that's exactly to do, I agree with Julia, with the intimacy. I also know that you just had a little baby. When we met last time, you were very pregnant. So congratulations, of course. We look forward to meet your little Kira, right? Am I right? That's the name? So really thanks. It was a great and delicate and precious gift for us. And I want to remind that the entire performance is visible on the link that you all have received for 3 days from now. I also want to thank everyone and welcome all the people that are participating to this discussion on the different channels of Pala Expo and of Villa Massimo and of UCLG. And at this point, I will give back the platform to Jordi, who, together with other people who are here today, is one of the main artifacts of the Rome Charter 1 year ago. Thank you.
Grazie, Cesare. Thank you very much. Grazie also, Julia, Rachel, for this great work. We are delighted that Pala Expo has related this document, the Rome Charter 2020, the Rome Charter, with the work of artists. It is really a privilege that this, say, international agreement, international guiding document, this international charter is also the document that you take into account, that you refer, that you challenge, that you discuss in your work. And I know that Cesare and his team are working in several endeavors with the incredible richness of the international cultural actors based in Rome. Now I will give the floor to 5 persons, fundamental, all of them in the writing of the Rome Charter, key actors for us. François Matarazzo is the first one. The charter would not be an interesting document without the presence of François, artist, writer, researcher, a person that I have been following at least during the last 25 years, a reference for this relation between culture, rights, territory, people, participation. François, 1 year later, how do you see the charter? Was it worth the journey?
Thank you, Jordi. I'm very pleased, and I don't like to use the word very often, but I'm proud of the Charter. I think it's a strong document, and I'll tell you why. Since I began working in art with communities, Article 27 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which you already mentioned, has been the foundation of that work. And it's a really important right, this right to participate in the cultural life of the community, because it's a right that protects all the others. because it's what prevents you being silenced and marginalized. But it's also quite a vague idea, this idea that you can participate in the cultural life of the community. And I am pretty sure that there isn't a city or a government in the world that would say it prevents people from exercising their right. But clearly what that right means in all the different cultures and governments of the world is very different. So I think that what the strength of the Charter is twofold. First of all, to define what that right means in 5 very open capabilities, which we've already heard mentioned today: to discover culture, to enjoy culture, to create culture, to share culture, and to protect it. It's also very important that the Charter doesn't define what that might mean. How I want to discover culture may not be the same as how the next person wants to, or create it, or share it, or protect it. It's the capabilities that are fundamental. The second thing that I think is really important about the Charter in that respect is, and I remember our very earliest conversation saying that I felt I wanted a document that could be understood by anyone living in Rome. It didn't need a higher education or a knowledge of culture or a knowledge of policy to understand. And those 5 words, I think a charter that you can sum up in 5 words goes a long way towards that. If you say to people, we believe that all the inhabitants of the city should have these capabilities, should be able to do these things, and this is what we are trying to achieve, then we are in effect making cultural democracy a possibility, because it isn't possible if people don't understand the terms of the policy that is supposed to serve their needs. Only if they understand what the promise is can they challenge it, perhaps say, I don't have this access, I don't have this capability. So the beginning of a foundation of a genuinely democratic space for the discussion of culture is made possible. And the final thing I'll say, because at the same time I've been working on a European Union Horizon 2020 project about community opera called Traction. And this is a project which tries to find ways of making what is in some ways symbolically the most elite and prestigious form of European culture, to make that inclusive and open to everyone. And as part of that research project, we're looking at how to use the Rome Charter as a way to understand whether the activities in that project, the 3 community operas that are happening in Spain, Portugal, and Ireland, can be tested in terms of whether they ensure they extend people's capability and therefore their cultural inclusion. So I think for me, its importance is those 3 points of making more precise Article 27, doing it in a way that is, I think, understandable and respondable by everyone, and creating a structure which is now beginning to be used and tested and beginning to shape the work and the actions that happen in culture. Thank you, Jordi.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, dear Francois. Nice words, wise words, as usual. The road is being done, and what you say is extremely valuable. And thank you also for keeping the time the 5 minutes that we have. Now I invite Anupama Sehar to take the floor. Anupama is the Director for Culture of the Asia-Europe Foundation. Let me especially express our gratitude for her presence in this seminar, in this anniversary party, because the time zone where she is living in Singapore is not the best on a Friday evening to share life and her time. Anupama has a very important role in connecting all Asia with all Europe, and she was extremely important for us in the writing of the charter, in suggesting people we should take into account, and in convening the key messages that are of interest to all our communities. Anupama, you have the floor now. How do you see the charter 1 year later? What are the new possibilities that the charter opens? What is the place of the charter in the international conversations on culture and development? Welcome.
Thank you, Jordi, and good evening from Singapore to everyone. I'm really glad that we are all here today together to commemorate this very important milestone in the life of the Rome Charter, the completion of its first year as a compact for cultural rights and cultural capabilities. And as we all know, what a year it has been. For me, the Rome Charter's capacity for new possibilities actually arises from the very fact of its birth in the middle of a global health crisis that has since impacted cultural spaces, cultural access, and cultural workers in absolutely unprecedented ways. A very, very important statement was made last May when the Charter was launched, just when the first waves of the pandemic spread across our cities. And it was a very confident proclamation that culture is the creative workshop of our cities, where both solutions and creative pathways to solutions exist. And I think this assertion has indeed been proven right in the last 1.5 years. And this, for me, is a very important victory for the vision of the Rome Charter, born, as it were, in the dark and uncertain early days of the current health crisis. Evidence of this victory is readily found in many reports that speak about the role of culture during COVID-19. But today I'd like to allude to one important recent one by the UN Special Rapporteur in the field of cultural rights, published this March, where Karima Benoon reaffirms that culture has been at the heart of our response to COVID-19, that artists, cultural professionals, and the entire cultural sector in cities have played a fundamental role not only in promoting well-being and resilience, but also in guaranteeing access to information about the pandemic, in encouraging tolerance, and even in humanizing COVID statistics and creating spaces for mourning, not only in our physical cities, but also in our growing digital cities. And now looking ahead, I already spot a new area of work where the Rome Charter has a critical advocacy role to play in its second year and beyond. Culture was the collective coping mechanism of humanity in the last year, and yet, ironically, we are beginning to see that the very cultural operators who have been serving us selflessly are facing immense uncertainties to the extent that some of them are considering leaving the profession altogether. There have been, of course, financial uncertainties, but also shrinking spaces for free expression. In her report, Karima Benoon also points towards some opinions she heard that seem to say that work in the arts is somehow not real work. It's a privilege. So this looming exit of many cultural workers from the social life of our cities is, for me, the impending cultural rights crisis of the new post-COVID societies that we are already building. If a cultural worker leaves the sector, it is, of course, a personal loss for them, but it is also a much bigger loss for our cities and for all our cultural rights. Everyone's cultural rights are diminished. And this is where I see a key role for the Rome Charter as an advocate for the status of the artists and also for their economic rights, so that we may continue to guarantee cultural rights for all in the brave new cities of stone, dreams, and digital public spaces that we are seeding now for our post-COVID tomorrow. Thank you, and I return the floor to you, Joel.
Yes, thank you very much. All very important points, Anupama, you raised, very important. The reference to the work of Karima Ben-Noun, the work on the ongoing work on the statue artists and the place of cultural workers. Let me also add that we take for granted that Karima Ben-Noun and previously Farida Shahid exist, but this is very new. I mean, 12 years ago, the world did not have a special rapporteur on cultural rights. So we also have to understand, say, in the long view, the fact that we are still fragile, but we are consolidating our positions, and perhaps too slowly, these considerations are becoming central to the global conversation on culture and development. Thank you very much, Anupama. Next speaker, I'm very happy to give the floor to the mayor of Leuven, Mohamed Ridouani. Leuven is a city extremely committed with the place of culture in development. The mayor has shown great commitment, great interest in being associated to the Rome Charter. Dear Mayor, you have the floor. Let us know why you think that the Charter is meaningful for the urban policies of Leuven, and where are we in this, say, development of a new social contract for our societies once we see that the COVID-19 pandemic is perhaps too slowly, but it is now we see the light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you very much, dear Mayor. You have the floor.
Good afternoon. Hi to you all. Thank you for giving me the floor. Big hello from Leuven in Belgium. Leuven is indeed a city that is so much committed to the cultural life, which is also embedded in the vision of the Rome Charter. And it is because, of course, it comes for us together with how we see the things, with our vision and the statements that we want to make. Leuven is a university city, a knowledge city. We have 171 nationalities living here, coming from all over the world. Many of those people stay here, and so we are a very dynamic, vibrant city with progressive young people that want to try out new things, that want to connect, and want to really tap in that cultural life, not only as a way of recreation, but as something that is really meaningful. Our approach in Leuven, and what I try to do every day, is try to connect people, not only to have a harmonious society. Of course, there's so much and so important in the world today. We have a lot of extremism, polarization. So we invest heavily in making sure that we bridge between communities, that people share the traditions, that they have freedom of identity and expression. But connecting people also leads to collaborations in areas like design of public spaces, like our spatial policy, the way we design new buildings, we design new parks, the way we come up with new solutions to fight, for example, even climate change, to fight poverty and diseases. If you can bring people from different angles together, be it engineers, artists, architects, scientists, whatever, when you have this crossover and the mission is clear, they come up with really bright ideas and solutions that we're trying to implement that are really different from how we did it before. We are designing a new city park, and our artists have a big stake in that, and they collaborate with our laborers from the public area maintenance, and they do it together. And it will be a new park with with an atmosphere of vibrance, of diversity. It brings things that you wouldn't have thought about. And this is how we proceed in Leuven. Now we're in this COVID situation. It hit us very hard. It hit a lot of people very hard on their health, but also on the social life. And especially in the cultural sector, it hit people very hard because all of a sudden there was no work, no job, no assignments. So we connected also there where we asked our artists to, for example, a very nice project where they broadcasted live in people's homes, where they brought songs that people could ask for, where they could make a painting for people that are ill and at home, for elderly people. And it really binds a community. And then you see that that art and culture is not something marginal, it's not a luxury product. In fact, it's very much something which is to the core of what we need and what a society consists of. Towards the future, and then I can conclude, is that of course we see what's in the Rome Charter, and it's one-on-one with our vision. We have some bold ambitions towards the future. In 2030, we are going for a European capital of culture. It's not something which is, it's for us, it's just a milestone on the road towards something new. And we work towards that with our whole community. We are at this moment also building a new state-of-the-art art house, which we the building will be, of course, nice and all that you need, and the capacity will be there. But today we call it our cultural living room, as you want, because it will be a place of connection. It will be a place where everyone is welcome. You will have the high-level performances and what you want, but it's also a place where you just can walk in, meet people, and we'll see what comes out of that. So that's how we will proceed. I asked our director of culture, Piet Forget, also to build a new cultural network in Leuven around that vision of connecting people around culture. Because it also creates a sense of belonging between people, a sense of being able to contribute, being heard, and for me that's really crucial. So once again, thank you so much. Please keep up the efforts of pushing this agenda, and Leuven will be a strong supporter.
Thank you very much, dear Mayor. Count on us in any endeavor you launch, you undertake, and please again congratulate Piet for the great connecting work that he's doing. We are looking forward to be in Leuven as soon as possible. We are also looking forward to be in Rome, and again as soon as possible. Let me now introduce you to Luca Bergamo. If there is one person that is associated to the Rome Charter 2020, this is Luca Bergamo, the initiator of the charter. Luca, thank you very much for being with us today. Thank you very much again for the courage, for challenging UCLG in going beyond in the very difficult times that we experienced last year. Now, 1 year after, let us know, how do you see the charter today? Luca, you have the floor.
How do I see the charter? I think that's I would could connect to me to something that Francois said before, and that is scattered in everybody's words. I think that the charter itself is important for a set of reasons. Francois pointed out three, which I will recall, but I think there are a few other ones that are relevant. By the way, I agree 100% with Anupama that having pushed the charter and brought it to its birth during the pandemic has been particularly relevant. I would also say that probably the crisis that the pandemic generated create the condition for that bold step to be taken unanimously by an organization, a large organization as USCG. It's not, since there were some peculiar conditions. So I absolutely agree that Jordi, and you know very well that the language of the charter is to be credited mostly to Francois, which has been, she's been strongly pushing for the charter to be accessible. I wouldn't say to the people of Rome. So to this end, we largely discussed word by word, so that in no way could have been perceived somehow with a kind of colonialistic approach, and nonetheless to be a document with consistency, but comprehensible by the majority, and as well made a tool in order to hold decision maker accountable, whatever it is, and of their wording and their actions. So language is very important for a document that aim to be an international charter of, it doesn't have a legal value, it doesn't pretend to have the legal value, but by reconnecting itself to the Declaration of Human Rights, it anyway is within a sphere of act that has acquired along the time as well a legal relevance in international treaty. And then clarifying what the Article 27 says over this, and listing and trying to explain what the capabilities are, which mean defining more precisely what the general rights entails in terms of other rights as well is, I think, is important. And that's the second point. There was a third one which I'm missing, sorry, but Francois will get back. But then there are others which I think are as well as important. One that I treasure very much is that the Human Rights Declaration was made by the nations in a world populated by still largely rural within which the local authorities had no major relevance, both in deciding how the people's life was going and in the political decision making. The charter is written and adopted by the government of the cities, so the local authorities, and explicitly call the local authority to bear the responsibility to remove the obstacle that prevent the fulfillment of the right. And that's why I agree 100% that that right, when it becomes, with the implication that are related to removing, becomes the right that enables the other ones. Because stating that the local authorities, the decision maker, and I would say as well the cultural institutions within their limit and powers, they have to work to remove the obstacle for that capabilities to be fulfilled by everybody. Then implicitly, and in fact explicitly, you start discussing whether the physical space of the cities allow the fulfillment of that objective, or the access to the digital or the cultural to skills that people have and the opportunity and so on. So to this end, clarifying the Article 27 and highlighting the responsibility of the cities, we have been something that we did something that I think is the chart did something that is very important, is that it clarify why the participation to cultural life, seriously taken, has a strategic impact in the planning of the city. It's not just a marginal things. It's not just an additional things. Because if you take seriously the implication of that wording, and again, we didn't wanted to explain how to do it because the how changes in every different context. But if we always said everybody needs to reflect about the implication that that wording has, then you have a massive impact on on the way that you look at the city development and therefore at the rights. Then another point I think is relevant, is that cultural rights has been linked to sustainability. So that's something that was not achieved with the, at the SDG writing, it has been achieved with the charter somehow. So to strictly linking the notion of sustainability, what that entails and what are the human capability, cultural capabilities, so to build a society sustainable, made by people that care of sustainability, and the cultural rights. And eventually, which is the implication of whatever I said before, is the crucial role of the cities in defining the direction that our world takes. And therefore, the role of the local authorities in such endeavor, which point straight to the fact that there is a black hole in the global governance, because the local authorities are not included in the global decision-making structure. So to this end, the charter, it's a very substantial exercise. And my impression 1 year after is that it's solid. It's been largely understood by those that had been in contact and become, it's very interesting that it becomes inspirational both for artistic intervention, for institution management, or for city planning, because that somehow certify that Francois, your push in order to have it written in a certain way has achieved that objective. Naturally, there's a work to do, and not last, honestly, I would say first, the fact that the charter itself has been adopted by the general, it's not a general assembly, Jordi, I always
World Council.
The World Council of UCLG, to be structural part of the strategy that UCL is adopting for itself for the future, which is the Global Pact. And as a pillar of that, I think is a very important achievement in 1 year. And I'd say this is probably not to the merit of the charter. I think it's more to the merit of the pandemic and the condition that the pandemic creates. So activating, a certain degree of feeling the way you used to go was not apt to the task. Now, obviously, going back to a more normal situation, there might be some rebounds. But I think that a good, a good work has been done by many and within UCLG and the others that took the charter. And I think I really welcome the word of the city of Rome deputy mayor that is renewing the commitment towards the charters and its principle and the allegiance to UCLG. I think it is important because as well, it marks the fact that despite changes in the political process, the value of the charter which is, as everybody know, it's named Charter of Rome because we didn't find another name, not because it's for Rome. That's the story. It was impossible to name it somehow without restricting its meaning. So it's taking on, and I think we can be proud of what. But I mean, collectively, yes, I had a role, but I always say that it's truth. There was a collective exercise that, despite the group of 10 working at the specific writing, it was 45 cities, 45 international networks, more than 100 intellectuals, among which several are here, and each one owns the birth of the charter. It is the outcome of a collective intelligence, and that this is one of the strengths, because the more it's collective owned, the more chances have to achieve or survive accordingly to the different situations. So my feelings are of extensive gratitude towards everybody, and kind of proud as well. Pride, let's put it this way. Thank you, George.
Grazie. We have to be proud. Absolutely. Very clear words, Luca, on the history of the charter, the main contributions according to your experience, which we share fully in UCLG, and also great words of hope on the role that the charter can play once the pandemic is over. If we are able to shape our societies of the future, our social contracts, if we are able to enroot these social contracts in peace, in capacity building, in rights, no doubt the charter will be a fundamental pillar, will be seen as a major contribution. But the battle is not won. But we are here. We are here, and Marina Ponti is also here. Marina is the director of the UN SDG Action Campaign, a very important partner of UCLG. She is the director of several actions, including a wonderful festival that takes place every year in Bonn, and also online in the last 2 editions. One of the best experiences I have had as a participant, let me say. Wonderful organization in Bonn, great work, and since the beginning, understanding very well the role that culture plays in the achievement of now the SDGs, in the, say, relating sustainable development to human development. Marina, how do you see the role of the charter today and for the next years? Grazie for being with us. You have the floor.
Yes. Thank you, Jordi, and good afternoon from Bonn and from the UN SDG Action Campaign. It's such a pleasure, and I'm so happy to be here today to thank the city of Rome, but also all of you who have been instrumental in drafting and in creating a momentum around the charter. And it's really remarkable what in just 1 year you have achieved. So thank you also UCLG for your leadership in keeping this item on the agenda. So I think it's very important. And many of you already spoke about the pandemic and the many challenges that has brought to our societies at all levels. But also, as also Luca just said, the pandemic brought new opportunities. And this, we believe, is an historic moment. It's a moment that we can make 2021, and we really believe it, a turning point for people and the planet. We believe there is a momentum for transformative change. People feel more than ever before that we must change and that change largely unfolds in our communities, in our neighborhood, in our cities. And when we think about our common future, we can see it as a puzzle that we need to solve. Each of us may initially work on a different piece, but completing the puzzle requires bringing all of these together. And in a way, and Jordi, I hope you'll agree with me, this is also how I view the Pact for Europe of UCLG, as this new social contract that brings people and institutions together and results in what UCLG, and I couldn't agree more, calls caring cities. These communities strongly determined day after day to build a better and more sustainable future for everyone. And this kind of commitment and energy is essential to inspire people. And at the community level, particularly, arts and creativity, especially from our point of view, and especially people's right to freely and fully enjoy and being able to express themselves are crucial to engage and to mobilize all segments of society towards transformative change. Art is a means of expression, is a means to understand society. And also arts and culture gives us the courage to change what we want and what we need to change in our world. In the words of Tania Bruguera, useful art is about transforming people's lives, even on a small scale. And the SDG are just the roadmap for the change that we need, now more than ever. Jordi, you mentioned the Festival of Action that brought together this year 24,000 people from 200 countries and territories. And as you saw, we put art and culture front and center. We had immersive films, photo gallery, exhibit, music, poetry, all to show how people are experiencing or seeing their society, but this turning point, and how people want to become agent for change. And going forward, I mean, we're very happy to be invited at this very special first birthday, and we really want to continue to work with you, along with our many cultural partners, to really inspire mobilization and leverage arts and culture to inspire people to take action. And the next appointment that we have hopefully together will be in September, where we are calling 100 million people to take action to somehow help some of the negotiation on the climate change front that are happening very importantly at the end of this year. So as you said, for us, art is very important, and art can be a tool for change. And we're here looking forward to see how we can best unleash the creativity and the passion of people to make the SDG a reality. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marina. Very, very wise words, very strategic words, and very important the work that you are leading in the SDG Action campaign. Very important this connection that you make between sustainable development and climate action. Very important that cultural actors, we are all more explicit in our role in this climate emergency we are living. Let me also announce that the UCLG Culture Committee is writing us a brief report on this issue, the relation between climate action and sustainable development from a culture and heritage point of view. And we will present the results of this report in the UCLG Culture Summit in Izmir in September this year. I saw Onur Eriuche, our key contact in Izmir, he was with us in the conversation, but he had to leave. But I do not want to not to say the great work that Izmir is doing in the preparation of the summit and the great content that the summit will have from the 9th to the 11th of September this year, 2021, with an online launch on the 10th of June. And we invite you all to register. Thank you very much again, Marina, for your speech. We will be in close contact, of course. It is now 10:22 in Xi'an and in Singapore. It is 11:20 in the Republic of Korea. And with this, I'm saying hello to Will in Xi'an and to Professor Shin in Gwangju. If you want to take the floor briefly for a brief comment on the Rome Charter, please do. I am also noticing that Clarissa Ruiz Correal is with us. She is in Bogota, as well as Thierry Bocali, knowledge manager of UCLG Africa. And it is with us also, we have with us Catherine Coulen, our special advisor on culture and sustainable cities, former president of the UCLG Culture Committee. You are invited to take the floor. I see also Mercedes Giovinazzo, the director of Interarts, former president of Culture Action Europe. Let us give us 6-7 minutes for your comments if you have, and then I will introduce Barbara Foltman. Barbara, excuse us, we are a little bit late. Thank you. Will, you want to take the floor?
Thank you, Jody. Thank you. I'd like to say this is a very exciting moment. You know, when we look back, we will know where we are going to. So very exciting, and congratulations on the anniversary of the release of the first version of the Rome Charter. Actually, today, in this afternoon, I went to kindergarten to participate in activities for the Children's Day with my son and his classmates. They gave a lovely performance to us in this afternoon, such as dancing, singing, and delivering poems. We, together with the other children and their parents, celebrated the Children's Day with a great joy. At that moment, I deeply felt the importance of upholding cultural rights for each individual. And it is of significant meaning to everyone to discover, create, share, enjoy, and protect culture for our future. For the very beginning, Rome Charter actually has always been committed to building inclusive, democratic, and sustainable city through culture. During the pandemic, Rome Charter actually has enjoyed even more importance and showed much value to the global community. Under this context, we need new approaches to understand and activate the value and vitality of culture to better deal with the crisis and protect everyone in this community. As it is known to all, there are still many cities and regions caught in pandemics, disasters, or even worse. So we should keep using culture as a tool, as the other representatives said today, to resolve conflicts and crises and enhance understanding among different cultures. And we also should look at the future in the light of development in order to give more vitality to Rome Charter. We should also put people at the center to establish a community with a shared future for mankind and for the well-being of our people. At last, I would like to thank the Culture Committee of UCLG and the City of Rome for organizing this event. I hope that we can meet face-to-face next time. And you know, today is the Friday evening, and this is the first anniversary. And I hope for the second one, we can meet face-to-face and have enjoy some music and some drinks. So I sincerely hope we can meet face to face. And also, I also want to welcome everyone from this big family to visit Xi'an. In this October, Xi'an will hold 7 Keys workshop with the culture committee of UCLG. I hope every one of us can be involved in this event. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jody.
谢谢, dear Will. Absolutely. I was about to mention that we are working with you in this 7 Keys workshop, and that we are planning to hold this workshop in October. And inshallah, it would be great that we have a strong presence from all over the world in this important moment for you. Thank you again. 谢谢. Professor Shin, do you want to take the floor, please?
It is great to see that Roma is playing another important role with this initiative. You played really a great role in keeping the peace for more than thousands of years, long time ago. So it is a nice initiative you are taking now. But at this time, I want to also share what we experienced in Korea. Yesterday morning, the 10-day uprising was finished by the 25,000 paratroopers who retook the provincial hall, which was stationed by citizen army. Then the citizen army was given ultimatum by the paratroopers to vacate. Otherwise, you would face death. But 160 people decided to stay. And because they stayed, the uprising itself began to give tremendous inspiration to the people in Korea. And then it was the beginning of political revolution of Korea. In fact, many Koreans and then foreigners realize it as a democratization, but I really consider it political as well as cultural revolution. If it was only political revolution, the impact would not be so big. And then without that cultural element of that period, there would be no cultural boom in South Korea. So I really believe that the life we have living was like a age of nations, age of politics, age of economics. But I really believe that this is the age of local government, locality, and then age of culture. Through combining everything together, we can boost not only culture, but through the culture, we can develop democracy, human rights, and then the quality of life, including the sustainable development. So the new social contract, as Mariana mentioned, should include the cultural component as one of the most important bases for our future. So in my experience in Korea, I really believe that politics itself is not powerful enough. When it is combined with culture, it begins to exert power, inspiration to all of us. And in that regard, I really believe that the Roma Charter initiative is boosting us the better future in terms of sustainable development and then even climate changes. In that regard, I really feel appreciative your initiative. And then I feel very happy to be here as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. 감사합니다, dear professor. And thank you for mentioning the 1980 uprising in Gwangju, in your city, a landmark for those that fight for human rights, and a very important moment for the world awareness on relating human rights with development. Congratulations for bringing this to us in this also anniversary. that took place these last days. Excuse me. Catherine, tu veux prendre la parole brièvement?
Hello, everyone. Just to say that I have just been a kind of passive participant in what's happened in the last year because I've been mainly behind my screen. But for me, the charter and what it set out as its kind of priorities I've been seeing it develop in a horizontal way, maybe an informal way all the time. Once you become aware of the charter, then you start seeing it spreading out, maybe informally, but there's something going on. And I think that what is happening and what's happened during this pandemic in the cultural world, with the good sides and the bad sides. But one thing is very clear, that the charter has put words on something that is in movement.
I'm muted. Good, thank you very much, Catherine. Merci beaucoup. Now, Barbara, a great pleasure to introduce you. Let me explain to all our colleagues, our audience, who you are. Before introducing you, let me express my gratitude to Carla Schiavone, a person who has been working since minute zero in the Carta, doing outstanding work behind the scene, between the curtains, sometimes also with the lights of the stage. Huge gratitude to your work, Carla, and especially for suggesting Barbara to be our special guest today. Barbara Holtman is the director of Fixed Africa, based in South Africa, the president of the board of directors of an organization whose name is Women in Cities International. She has worked in community development and community safety for more than 20 years, with a special focus on collective collaborative action to solve complex social problems. She's served as project director at Business Against Crime, where she designed, facilitated, and implemented a model for community-based victim support at 120 policy stations in the province of Gauteng in South Africa. And she served also as chief of the United Nations Crime Prevention Research Group. She will share with us her point of view on how arts and cultural policies connect with theories of safety and community well-being. Barbara, thank you very much for being with us today. You have the floor.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the invitation, Jordi, and I've really enjoyed listening to you all. I kind of think that that my role is to look at the SDGs from a different perspective and find the synergies between us. Because my field, which is urban safety, has come to the value of cultural activity and artistic and creative activity very late. And although I have been working in this field for over 20 years, it was really only last year when I worked with a group of dedicated people working in participative arts, what we actually ended up calling PACs, participative arts and everything else, with a small x to identify the and everything else. And my role there was to identify the way in which participative arts and everything else, including culture and traditional activities and festivities, could actually be seen to contribute to urban safety. And I think that that's something that's really interesting. Today, I think it was Anupama, who spoke about budgets getting much smaller in this space, and about how difficult it is to actually fund cultural and artistic programs, particularly in a world where there are constantly conflicting and huge demands on scarce resources. And I think the pandemic has made that only worse. And yet, if we can define particular activities and sectors as being essential to achieving not just one of the SDGs, but many of the SDGs, then we begin to see a much more compelling reason for cities to engage with different aspects of activity. And in this instance, for me, it's really fascinating. We started that discussion about how participative arts can contribute to safety and justice with quite a difficult conversation. Professor Doris Summer, who may be known to some of you, Professor Doris Summer from Harvard, taught me so much in these discussions. And she started from the perspective of saying that human beings are dynamic and they will do something. They will either do something that we perceive as good and useful, or they may do something that is not good and useful. And perhaps our role is to provide them with as many opportunities and to enable the greatest possible participation in expressing what they feel and what they need in artistic ways that, good or bad, will not actually destroy. And I think that that's a really important point. I mean, we experience, and particularly during the COVID times, we have seen massive conflict. We have seen violence, and we know it's a response to times of intense uncertainty, anxiety, frustration, fear, trauma, loss, grief. These are the things that the world are feeling at the moment. And yet, if we look at the way that art offers us an outlet for those feelings, it is not to destroy or to burn down or to hit each other or to fight with one another, but to express ourselves in terms of our feelings in a way that demystifies us for others and demystifies others for us. And I think that's a really valuable contribution to make to societies that are really struggling with othering. So, you know, the exclusion of others, the issues of xenophobia in cities, which we also know about from massive rates of migrancy, for instance, these are things that create more and more barriers between people, that make integration between people much harder. And nobody has tools better than the arts and culture field to deal with those things. And nobody has come up with alternatives that work. And so when we look at art as being, as having a purpose without necessarily being purposeful, in other words, we don't require it to deliver one thing or another, but we accept the value of the purpose that it brings, then we begin to shift and see differently the way that we can engage one another. One of the ways that we've done this in the last year has been to use creativity in terms of looking at resilience. Prior to COVID, very few people were consistently in touch enough with their feelings to be able to engage with people in difficult circumstances. During COVID, that has become much harder. And we know that everybody is stretched and that many of the triggers that squash and make less our natural resilience in our individual environments are things that we find very hard to express. And we worked last year without even really being aware of what we were doing in terms of integrating safety and resilience and art. We worked with the subject of resilience and how we could actually help people express themselves in such a way that they could engage more constructively with one another. And in doing that and looking at the psychosocial impacts, which has been mentioned a couple of times today, the more people can be mindful of what they are feeling and what they are seeing and what they are doing and what they can create, the easier it becomes for other people to see them and to engage. One of the big things that, and so we developed a tool for developing a resilience baseline and a resilience barometer that isn't a ladder that people have to climb towards a particular emotion, but that offers people an opportunity to interact. In our instance, it was within clouds, but to interact and position themselves around where they found themselves on a particular day, and to use this as a tool for interaction in teams, for interaction with families, for interaction with communities. We used it, for instance, to help build resilience for people who were working with homeless people during the lockdowns. In one particular setting, we worked with municipal people who were the frontline workers who were dealing with a homelessness project where hundreds of homeless people were being housed in massive tents for over a month of continuous rain. And we looked at the impact on those people of dealing with intractable problems at a time when they themselves were fearful of what was happening in their own lives. And this, of course, creates a huge opportunity. And I'm sure that I can only imagine that those of you who are creative artists amongst us would actually be itching to think about what that might look like in a different setting. And for us, that was a hugely important thing. We could make it okay for people to acknowledge how difficult it was. We could make it okay for people to say that they were feeling incapable of intervening, of making things better in a circumstance where it was their job to deal with the most vulnerable people in their communities. Similarly, we found that that when we engage in creative projects, for instance, we had a wonderful project last year, and I wonder how you are dealing, if you've had any exposure to this or if you have any projects, where we looked specifically at children as urban citizens. And we all know that creative and participative arts is a massive tool for teaching children, for helping children reach their developmental milestones. And we looked at what happened when we linked the notion of citizenship with the notion of being a child and of navigating the city. We looked at mapping cities. We looked at signposting things, signposting emotions, signposting pathways that families make. We've had some lockdown here, but children are still at school or again at school. And we looked at the maps that families take and how mapping the family routes could ground children. And again, in times of massive uncertainty, could actually create for them a sense of where they were, a sense of connection through this mapping process of their daily existence and of the existence of their families and of their friends. I think one of the most important things that you've talked about today is collaboration. And what I'm seeing and hearing here is intense collaboration within your sphere. But maybe what I'm proposing is that there are some really valuable collaborations to be had outside of your sphere. Because I can imagine that just from my perspective, where we are moving, we're dragging the narrative of urban safety out of measuring what we want less of, which is homicide, violence against women, armed robbery, where the best you can achieve is no crime, into a narrative of what we want more of, which is vibrancy, connection, inclusion, participation, creative expression, which is all the things that you're about. And I think that there is an enormous potential here for us to partner from one sector to another in a way that doesn't actually look like a puzzle, because, Julia, I would say that, no, Marina, I think, was talking about it as a puzzle, not as a puzzle because everything can connect to anything else, not just to the pieces that most obviously fit around it. So I always like to think of it as a system in which we can put anything in the middle and connect to multiple different points, and multiple different points can connect to each other, more like a sort of a tapestry than a puzzle. We can draw threads through one sector and into another. And I think there is enormous potential to do that. And in terms of urban safety, we connect not just to the issues of a safe and just and society. We also look at the issues of sustainability. We look at the issues of reduction of poverty. We look at the issues of creating greater economic empowerment. And of course, there's such a lot to be done with that in urban neighborhoods. We are currently working on safety planning, where we're trying to encourage municipalities to see not the building of space, not place making as the ultimate goal, but the activation of place, the allowance of various different interpretations of the aesthetic to begin to drive a thriving and vibrant neighborhood, rather than having some kind of outside aesthetic put upon it, and people being told, this is a safe space, you can use it. No, instead of inviting people to the table, how do we get people to help us design the table that works for them? And I think that it is only when we can engage across sectors that we will begin to be able to do that. And so I really hope that this is the beginning of ability to work together. I just want to correct that I'm not the president of any UN group. I led a research group at the South African Centre for Scientific Research for a long time, and developed a methodology for dealing with complex social problems that is applicable across different sectors that I have used particularly in terms of urban safety. But oh, how I wish we could work together to develop a model using that methodology that looks at what happens when we integrate other objectives, such as the objective for safety, with the objective of creating cultural and vibrant cities. So thank you again so much for having me here.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Barbara. We will try to connect, to engage with your work, to connect the pieces of the puzzle or the multiple connections of our nodes with the other. We still have 10 minutes, and I would like to devote 5-6 minutes for questions or comments to what Barbara has explained, to what Barbara has shared with us, if there are any.
If I can, I want to thank Barbara, because I think she introduced a very crucial topic, that is the othering, the trend, the tendency to individuate in an sort of negatively idealized enemy, the other, the different. Something that has to do with the obsession of create an identity, an owns identity, and thinking that this can be created through the othering, through negatively idealizing the identity of the other. Now, I just want to say that my idea, and I am convinced that artists, probably more than others, and I don't want to be presumptuous, since I belong to that category, artists more than others know how to avoid this kind of trap, this kind of psychological, cultural, political trap. That is the othering and the idealizing, negatively idealizing the identity of the other. And the topic, the tool for me is the concept of use. So make use of aspects of the conflict, make use of difficulties, make use of things that are considered wrong, even make use of evil, if I can say, make use of something that we consider on a social and political point of view wrong. So arrive to the point to not to create a confrontation, but to deconstructing othering through making use of what we perceive as different. So I always use this metaphor of the electric field, and rather than looking for the right position, the artist is someone who tries to intercept, to catch the energy that flows through the positive and negative pole within a conflict. So I just wanted to catch your suggestion and somehow point out the position of the artist. Thank you.
Thank you, Cesare. Julia, you want to?
Yeah, I think this is totally right what Cesare said. We also have been speaking about that in the German Academy a lot, about many people saw themselves confronted in difficult times with the pandemics, with uncertainty. And artists are experts in dealing with this precarious existences. So especially now in this moment of change and uncertainties, artists are the experts how to deal with that. And so we should really put them into the center of society to try to find new answers to the questions that we have.
Absolutely, absolutely. We fully agree. We fully share this will. Let me add that in the proposal that in 2013, the International Federation of Arts Councils, together with Cultural Action Europe, the International Music Council, Arterial, and us, the proposal of a culture goal for the SDGs, it included a target specifically on this issue. But we were not successful. We still have to convince the ambassadors, the foreign affairs ministers, that this work is essential for development. We will carry on, for sure. We will carry on. And I take also the invitation of Barbara to make more substantial the evidences, to make those evidences relating safety with participation, with cultural life, more better known, better structured in a way that is meaningful to all, and especially to those that are not convinced by the transformative power of culture. Any other comment? Luca, Catherine, Marina?
I'm actually answering to Barbara comment, because the challenge of developing indicators is something that I've been personally after quite lengthily, and there has been a work done by the city of Rome in recent years, which could be the basis for, because what has been put in place was a methodology applied to intercept the non-participation to cultural life and cross the non-participation of cultural life with the socioeconomical condition, but as well the well-being perceptions. The reason, one element that Jordi was mentioning when he mentioned the campaign, at the time I was the Secretary General of Cultural Action Europe, so we were doing that things together with the others. One of the challenges we dealt at the time was exactly the indicator issues, and by my point of view, but this is part of broader discussion, identifying the participation to the cultural life of the community, it opens a framework within measure much less vague than in other with other cases, because actually the participation, the level, the degree of participation itself can be quantified and can be qualified with in more sophisticated or less sophisticated ways. And that might help us as well as a community to bridge within the UN system, but with other sectors, because what you were telling in your, sorry, I'm speaking to Barbara, almost started here, but just, I say it here because you are at the center of my screen, sorry. Maybe it's one of the screens somewhere. Is that the, what you were, the story you were telling, the perception of the role that arts has in specific circumstances as well, not only in terms of, improving the, reducing the indicators of malfunction in society, but on the contrary, making the social capital and the cultural capabilities as general more alike for a sustainable society is something that the people working in cultural sectors believes and are somehow aware now since long, but it's always been kind of challenging to build bridges. To this end, probably COVID-19, it is an opportunity, and the work done in the last year, it may possibly pave the way to accelerate this, this bridge building, because it's something that goes, it's a long ride. Sometimes absent, sometimes now disappeared, but sorry, I touched upon different subjects, but this, okay. And I'm long as always, sorry.
No problem. That's good. Barbara, do you want to take the floor for a brief comment?
If I may, please. I just wanted to say that the work of developing indicators is one that is really useful, because it's what we did with the PAX group last year. And we looked at PAX indicators that would transcend the two sectors, participative arts and urban safety. And we came up with issues like effective urban governance, the number of officials with capacity dedicated to participative arts, the amount of city budget allocated to neighborhoods for activities, formalized partnerships between local governments and the sector, the diverse use of public space, which also refers to the exercise of the right to the city, and inclusivity in public spaces, community participation in vernacular arts programs, which we looked at under social cohesion. And there, as you say, there are quantitative indicators that we can use. And then culturally vibrant city spaces and neighborhoods, which could be measured through communication, advocacy, and innovation, and could actually provide visual evidence through participative performances, public artworks, installations, etc. And then culturally diverse economic development and civic empowerment programs that speak to the issues of prosperity and resilience in cities, and look at the kinds of opportunities that come up through culture-specific festivals. For instance, responses to local threats, promoting gun-free spaces, countering gang violence, as I said earlier, xenophobia, sexual harassment. And then looking at the number of participants and engagements as a qualitative reach. So I think it's really a fascinating process to look at developing indicators, and it's an excellent exercise to do because it really makes one focus on what it is that you think we're actually achieving. And it becomes an piece of advocacy work as well to actually develop them.
Thank you, Barbara. Marina, you opened your microphone. Do you want to?
Yeah, no, just the one sentence on what Barbara said about the co-creation, which we feel is the most important element. And I believe that the arts and culture and the artists, as was also said, have this in their DNA because they understand this, and this is the way they're operating. So I just wanted to emphasize this as a crucial element. Over.
Thank you very much. Yes. In June 2013, Professor Shin, do you want to say a brief comment?
Yeah, I want to add two elements or two components on what we are doing. So this conference was possible because of the initiative of the city of Roma, or rather by Lucas, which means political involvement, local government involvement is really important to elect progressive, open-minded politicians in office. Seems to be very crucial to promote this kind of cultural aspect in our life. In addition, as a educator, I really want to emphasize the educating younger generation through the culture. I'm not sure about other part of the world, but in my country, too much education for competition disregards cultural education. So I'm worrying about the future of Korea because we are emphasizing too much on mathematics, language, science, not on culture. So I want to emphasize the importance of politics and education.
Thank you very much. 감사합니다, dear professor.
Thank you.
Final words. It's midnight in Gwangju and 4 minutes past 11 in Singapore and Xi'an. Thank you very much, colleagues in the East, for staying with us. Huge gratitude to all the speakers. Luca Bergamo, thank you. Grazie again. Francois, Anupama, Mayor Ridwani, Marina, thank you. Of course, Will, Professor Shin, Catherine, Barbara, great speech. We'll work together for sure. Julia, Rachel, also thank you very much for sharing with us what you have been doing. And thank you to the UCLG team in Barcelona, Sarah, Marta, Agnes, moltes gracias. And now the word to Cesare again.
Thanks, Jordi, and thanks to you all. It was a real pleasure to listen to all of you for these 2 hours. And I also want to thank our team and Carla Schiavone, as you did already, Jordi, but I want to repeat this thanks to Carla, who behind the scene sort of organized this all, and it was not so easy. What can I say? We as Pala Expo in Rome, it's a challenge. It's a challenge for us. We are devoted to produce art, produce culture, to find new territories between different disciplines in art, connect art and science, connect art and different aspects, different fields of culture. And again, as I said, I am convinced that this topic that has to do with le partage de le sensible, as Rancière, the philosopher Jacques Rancière says, so the distribution or the sharing the sensibility is an essential element of social justice, as important as the distribution of means of production and of wealth. And we are convinced, or at least we accept this challenge, that this distribution can especially happen through culture and through artistic research. So thanks to you all. I hope there will be more occasions to share projects, ideas, and knowledge among us, and see you all for the next appointments.